Hey there, good Sunday morning to you guys, DFS Army veterans. It's your buddy Choppadong, and I'm not going to dive into MLB Made Easy today. I may later, but instead, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that are weighing on my mind. And when these things kind of build up in my brain, oftentimes they come out in a long form strategic article of some kind. I used to do a lot more of these earlier in my career, but to be honest with you now, you just kind of get to look at my ugly mug while I make a little video and explain this to you in just a couple of minutes. The two things that I want to talk about are going contrarian and diversifying your lineups. These are two very, very key parts of my own game personally. As I've grown and evolved as a player, these are a couple of things that make a lot of sense to me. With a poker background or with a volatility sports background, this stuff maybe is a little easier for me to handle than the newer guy. So I think that these things make sense. A lot of people are single entry players, and you hear me talk a lot about I might rather make 10 dime lineups than one $1 lineup. That's diversification. I would rather take many different shots at lineup combinations because nobody really knows which one's really going to go off. And that's more of the diversification idea or process. Now, back in the day, or if you went to a casino and played live poker, you can't sit at more than one table. So your variance or your volatility in a given session is going to rise and fall with how well your cards are dealt to you at that particular table over the 2, 3, 4, 12 hours or whatever you sit there. To get more money into the game, people play at higher and higher buy-in levels. That's like playing a $1, $5, $25, $100 GPP in DFS. But the problem is with DFS, we can play multiple lineups, multiple contests, multiple buy-in levels. I can sit at more than one table at the same time. When online poker became a thing and online poker started booming, it was because people could sit at multiple tables, 4, 8, get a dual monitor, sit at 16, 24 tables. I've had over 20 tables open myself playing poker. And again, there's still a limitation because there's only so many tables you can pay attention to. So with those limitations, you still have to come up in buy-in levels and play at $25, $50, $100, $200 tables to get the ROI or whatever you need. But what adding all of those different tables is doing is compounding your win rate, or actually diversifying it. I mean, if I get 2% return on investment, then would I be better off playing 1,000 hands of poker a day or 10,000? Obviously, 10,000 hands. So the faster I can get that done with 2 tables or 4 tables or 8 tables or whatever, the better off I am. The more hands I can put in an hour, the more I can put in a day. The problem with DFS is it does not necessarily cap us to force us up in buy-ins. If it forced the skilled players up into the nosebleeds and out of the realm for all of us smaller ballers, then we would end up having our own little area where we could play. We wouldn't always have to be playing with the pros and whatever else. And until DFS finds a way to solve that and honestly solve it, then we're just dealing with them where we are. How do we diversify then? You diversify by making 10 dime lineups instead of $1 lineup. If your budget is huge, great, go play in a $25 single entry. I don't care. I would rather make 100 quarters lineups than one $25 single entry lineup because it's going to take me forever, one lineup at a time, to realize my ROI, to go through the variance of the ups and downs of a large sample size, and really figure out what kind of a player I am. I'm going to find that out faster by putting together tons and tons of lineups. And the only way I can do that is to play at the lower level. I would rather put together, if I had, say, $100 in a day, I would rather max out all the nickels I can find, max out all the dimes I can find, max out all the quarters I can find. I work my way up that way because now I'm only being forced up based on running out of options. I would rather play all those, and then I am just going to scoop as many tournaments as I possibly can, because if I make 1,000 lineups today, I can cover more bases, cover more options, play more formations, take more contrarian lineups, take more chalk lineups. I can cover more bases and have much better chances at hitting the nut lineup in an unpredictable sport like a baseball or a football even than I could if I only built one lineup and threw it out there. Some people like to talk about playing high buy-ins and all that, and that's all true. That all works, but I won't play that until I have maxed out all of my lower entry stuff. That's just my philosophy. It is also several other big-time pros that shall remain nameless. It is their philosophy too. And I have coaches just like you have coaches, and I follow people I respect just like you follow people you respect. I'm just communicating down to you what it is that my philosophy is, so that if I'm the coach for you, if I make sense to you, if I talk to you and you relate to me, then we can talk on a level and you'll always know where I'm coming from. Even though I may mix some words and whatnot here and there, I'm always coming from this. I would prefer to play a ton of lineups rather than a single lineup. That's just me. I'm doing a single lineup challenge right now that is showing you that, I'll do it both ways. It's easier to be contrarian in a single lineup anyway. And what I'm going to show you through that is how long it takes to understand how good you can be, how long the struggle can be. I think I started off 3 out of 5 lineups cashed, and now I'm sitting on 3 out of 9 lineups that have cashed. So I've gone 0 for 5 in the past 5 turns. Well, that's very, very normal. There's nothing good or bad about that. And what you're going to see is I'm not going to get frustrated by that because I understand that long run. The second part, that's diversification kind of. The second, and hopefully you understand where I'm going with that, but the second part of what I want to talk about is being contrarian, because it leads into the single entry stuff. It leads into even some of the MME stuff and whatever else. And the theory behind a contrarian lineup is really just kind of probabilities. It's game theory. It's where this game has gone in the past few years as everybody now has access to good information. Back in the day, just understanding the stats and knowing what stats to look at was enough to give you an edge. That is not the case anymore. Now it is knowing where everybody else is going to play and making sense of whether or not you should stay with them or get away from them. Consider this little scenario right here. It's a very common scenario. I've got a bag in my hand. It has 10 balls in it, right? 9 of the balls are red and 1 ball is black. 1 ball is going to be pulled out, just 1. If you guess correctly, you win $100. Right? Doesn't matter which ball you pull. If you guess correctly, you're going to win $100. Obviously, you're going to guess red because you have a 90% chance of winning the money, right? However, let's consider that scenario, but let's add something in there. There are now 10 people that are guessing with you, and the $100 prize is going to be split behind everybody that wins that guesses the right color. Do you still want to pick red? Probably not. It depends on what the other people are doing, right? If you know of a single player, if every single player is guessing red, then you're actually better off guessing black. Why? If you guess black and you're the only person doing it, you get the full $100 to yourself. Black will be the only winning color 10% of the time, but there's a 10% chance of winning you the $100, so the expected value is the same $10 per pull out of 10 pulls, right? On the other hand, if you guess red, and everybody else does too, because they're playing the chalk, if you see where this is going, the best case scenario is you're splitting that $100 with 9 other people. So if red wins, you only win $10, and red only wins 90% of the time, which only gives you an expected value of $9. You actually have $1 more of expected value by guessing black and being the only person to do so. You actually have a higher expected value of going contrarian. And that is absolutely the case in DFS. If you bring it back to, fantasy baseball or whatever, betting red is like stacking the most popular team of the night. It's more likely to come through, but you're fighting a bunch of other people to do it. Even if you pick a stack that outscores every other stack by a wide margin, you still need the rest of your roster to separate you and come through when you're fighting hundreds and hundreds of people that also stack that team. That's not easy. That's the thing I've been trying to tell you for so long. On the other hand, if you choose a contrarian stack, betting basically the black ball, right, in the bag scenario, and that stack is the highest scoring one of the night, you will likely be way ahead of everybody else because there's a reason that stack is contrarian. It's probably less likely to work out for you. You're taking the option that is less likely to occur in exchange for a bigger payday when it works. That's all being contrarian is. And if you understand it like I have understood it after, reading articles and Google searches and everything else on these types of situations, the light bulb goes on. Being contrarian, the light bulb goes on. In a game like baseball, where the chalk fails more often than just about any other sport, it makes a ton of sense that when you see everybody go over here, I don't care how right it is, I go somewhere else. And diversifying allows me to do that. Building tons and tons and tons of lineups allows me to take chunks and throw a chunk at Houston and a chunk at Detroit and a chunk at Kansas City and a chunk at whatever in hopes that those guys go off. All I have to do is establish my weights appropriately to the risk that I'm taking. And that's forever the challenge. And that's the next part we're working on, more of an advanced strategy and stuff. But hopefully you understand where I'm going with this. Hopefully those two concepts made sense to you. And hopefully you understand where I'm coming from as a coach when I'm talking to you and delivering advice to you. We have different coaches at DFS Army that talk about different things. But if you identify with me and you relate to me, then this is the things that we're constantly going to be driving home. These are the things we're constantly going to be talking about, because these are the things that make sense to me. And when they're lodged in my brain, it comes out a little bit more naturally when I talk to you and give you answers a little bit faster, a little bit easier, because again, it just clicks inside my brain. Hopefully it clicks inside yours too. If not, you want to learn about the approach because it made sense to you, but you don't really maybe know how to go about it, then I'm probably the guy for you. Come on inside, dfsarmy.com. Look me up, chop it on. Use the coupon code preseason for a 50% off discount each, the first month, then 10% each and every month after that. Play baseball, play football, play hockey, play NASCAR. NASCAR is great today. MMA last night, whatever it is you like to play. I've got the coaches for you, and I can help you in probably 3 or 4 or 5 of those sports myself. Take care, guys. We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.